Shalom. I'm Rabbi Josh Caruso from Anshe Chesed, Fairmount Temple. It's my honor to be here today, even though none of us really wants to be here today, but certainly to honor a blessing to us all. Beverly Kroll. In the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven. A time for dancing, a time for wailing, a time for birthing, and a time for dying. A time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking, a time for losing. The time of mourning is a complicated time, filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Beverly's life with the 3,000-year-old tradition of the people Israel and the eternity of God. I invite you to join with me now in the recitation of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Indeed, Beverly was an Eshet Chayil. She was a woman of valor to her family. Her worth was far beyond rubies, and her husband Larry always put his confidence in her. She lacked no good thing. She always opened her hand to the needy and extended it to the poor. She was certainly clothed and with strength and with splendor. She looked to the future cheerfully. She opened her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue was always guided by kindness. Now, friends, I'm reading from Proverbs chapter 31, but doesn't it seem like it was written just for Beverly? She opens her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue was guided by kindness. Her children, Marla and Mitch, they come forward today. They live up to that fifth commandment. They honor her. They bless her. Many women, Bev, have done superbly, but you have surpassed them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Extol her for the fruit of her hand wherever people gather, including in this moment. Her deeds speak her praise. In this week's Torah portion, Lech Lecha, we uncover the birth pangs of the people of Israel. We learn about Abraham and Sarah, and the journey of the Jewish people begins. God calls out to Abraham, Lech Lecha, go forth from your land, from your birthplace, from your parents' home. I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great. You shall be a blessing. Indeed, our dear one Beverly Kroll was surely blessed her whole life, and she was a blessing to those who knew her. She saw the world through goodness, through glasses the color of rose, or actually purple. She was a good soul, a person who cherished family beyond all else. Today we will hear from some of her dear family, those who will speak on behalf of all the rest. Brad, Marika, Griffin, and Adam will begin, and they will be followed by Mitch.
Yours all coming up here. When I think about my grandmother, I think about three traits. I think about relentless positivity, I think about her always being present, and I think about her love for others. I truly can't recall her ever being mad, ever, about a situation, at another person, and just life in general. Always the life of the event, always seeing the best in people, and always gladly willing to chat with anyone who'd listen. Her presence was universal. Every grandkid, every friend, every event, she never wanted to miss anything, and quite frankly, she rarely ever did. If I ever had a game within any reasonable distance, I knew she'd be talking to Larry about making the trip. I always joked that if I had a game on the moon, she would call NASA to find out if it was possible to come watch me. Finally, her love for others. It was evident in every aspect of her life. She treated strangers as friends, and sometimes it seemed overboard, but that's just who she was. She consistently and constantly wanted to be surrounded by her friends and family. She loved equally. From my brothers to my cousins, my mom, my uncle, she truly had a unique love for each individual in her life. My lasting impression of my grandma was her relationship with my grandpa, unmatched companionship, true devoted love, and the ultimate definition of a couple. We are all better people for having known Beverly Kroll.
My grandma, or Ami as my siblings and I called her, was one of a kind. She was always optimistic and enthusiastic, the best dressed in the room, the life of the party, opinionated, independent, and strong-willed. Everything to my grandma was the best dinner, the best restaurant, the best party. She had an endless sense of optimism and love and always wanted everyone around her to feel appreciated. She was super type A and a serious planner. She had to have dinner plans finalized before breakfast was finished, and every winter when her and Poppy went to Florida, she would have her black notebook with some social event or date penciled in every single day. It was so important to her to be a friend to everyone. She never ignored a phone call, even if it was 5 in a row, and Poppy would tell her, "Beverly, this is the 3rd time you've talked to so-and-so in the last hour, hang up the phone." Or joke with us that he's heard whatever the latest story is so many times that he could repeat it himself. But in the same breath, Poppy would tell us everyone wanted to be Beverly's friend because they knew she would always have your back. Her relentless work ethic, fierce sense of independence, and family-first mentality is something that, despite how different my siblings, dad, cousins, aunt, and I are from one another, are qualities we all share because of her. We will miss her.
Hey everyone, my name is Adam. I'm Roxanna's fiance for those who don't know me, and what Ami and even Poppy too would call me. An adopted grandchild, which I feel super lucky to be able to say that. For everyone here, you're here because you knew Ami very, very well, so you know that she appreciated the small things in life, or at least to us they were small things, but to her they were the most wonderful things. She'd say, "Have you felt this blanket? This is the softest blanket. It is the most wonderful blanket." Or, she likes musicals, and Roxanne and I love movies, so we took her to see The Greatest Showman once. And to her, it was the most wonderful musical. It was just the apps out of every single musical that was ever created, that she's ever even seen. It was the top, #1, most wonderful musical to her in that moment. And she really meant it. It wasn't an exaggeration, because in that moment it was true to her. And to something that something as simple as, just average salad dressing to us was to her the most wonderful salad vinaigrette, and she'd talk about it and go on, and there's stories about that we could talk about later. But I just wanted to share that because that was a really good insight as to her positivity and who she was as a person, and she just beamed with joy and appreciation for these small things that we often overlook. And to wrap things up, just wanted to say that to Ami, to us, she was the actual most wonderful, and it's no small thing, and I don't think that'll ever change. Thanks.
Marcel Proust once said, "Let us be grateful to the people who make us happy. They are the gardeners who make our souls blossom." Those were his words, and now I want to say a few words both about her and my grandpappy. Though I must say, for people like them, for people who I'm so honored, appreciative, and blessed to call my grandparents, I can't say that this is nearly enough for what I'm about to tell you, but I will try my best because I know that's what they would want. What did you see, both you and him, from all the pats on my back to fishing by the lake? Was it out of pity or on a whim? With grandparents like you and him, I'll never be brought to my knees. What did I deserve? To have such amazing and beautiful people like you. People who I have admired yet worried over. Who've had it rough yet still laughed. Walked but needed rest. And for some reason you thought I was the best. But really, what did you see? What did you see when it came to me? I guess I'll never know when it comes to your wide field of vision, so I'll just have to follow your example and dream on. In the meantime, as the two of you reunite hand in hand, I'll keep coming up with another rhyme, as, like you, I will stand, yet move forward. And I love you. I love you, Ami, and make sure to tell Poppy that I still love him too.
For me and Marla, my mom, I just got to get started, then I'll be okay. My mom filled our hearts with love, and she fed our minds with possibilities. If you're lucky, you have someone like my mom in your life right now that you should cherish. As the kids shared, my mom literally only saw the world for its goodness. Everything with her was viewed one way. That was the best steak I ever tasted. That was the best present I ever received. She'd call me and say, tonight, and this would happen almost every night, that was the best baseball game I ever went to. If we had lukewarm tap water at a restaurant before a meal, that was the best, most refreshing water I ever drank. You see, she chose to see the world that way. It was her choice and one we can learn from. She couldn't see the world any other way than one filled constantly every day with the bests. Think about waking up every day of your life and knowing that the best of something was going to happen. That was my mom. And this extended to people as well. Her friends that are lifelong, Joni Lewin said to me yesterday, she knew my mom since she was 8 years old. Over 75 years they've been best friends. And Estelle Finnick, who we love very, very dearly, reminded me a couple weeks ago that she was at the hospital when I was born, and my mom was at the hospital when her kids were born, and they have been friends for over 70 years. My mom would always tell me about the people she met, and there was a very consistent theme. Lauren and Steve Spillman, they are the nicest people I've ever met in my life. Alan's parents, I've never met nicer people than them in my entire life. Carrie's sisters, they are the nicest people I've ever met since the day I was born. When my mom was coming out of rehab, she called me aside and said, there's this young girl I met that I want to take care of me. Please make that happen. Her name is Bianca, and she's really nice to me. She's the nicest one I've ever met. My mom knew Howard Alston, someone who I work with, before I knew Howard. And I said to her one day, Mom, I heard you told Howard that I'm going to take care of him forever. And she said, you are. He is very, very nice. On Roxana's birthday recently, I asked my mom if she knew how old Roxana was. With her steadily progressing dementia, she cheerfully and quickly said, I don't know how old she is, but I do know she sure is beautiful. I just smiled and said, I told myself, my mom, she's still there. She loved to tell everyone how amazing Lev was. She told me hundreds of times, how lucky I was to find Carrie. To her, life was always good. It was really that simple. Like my dad, her greatest joy was Brad and Rob and Todd and Marika and Roxana and Griffin and Alan and Adam, who she showered with love every day. My mom's two favorite words were Ami and Nene. The Kroll kids called her Ami, and the Goldberg boys called her Nene. So, of course, her license plate was Ami Nene, as if to proudly proclaim to the world, I am Ami Nene and you are not. My mom started a lot of sentences with my Mitchell. My Mitchell, she would say, marches to the beat of a different drummer. While my beat was very different than hers in a lot of ways, it was similar even more. My passion, my mom, No burnout, my mom. Joy from giving to others, my mom. And my amazing relationship with my kids, my mom. Well, my mom died from a failing heart. We all know her heart was broken 18 months ago. When my dad died. After that, we were all very worried. We were very worried about her. But she maintained the same positive Bev outlook to everyone. But we all knew. We knew that inside her spirit was broken. But she kept teaching us every day that happiness and joy win, even in the face of her greatest pain. Last Tuesday, I was in San Francisco on business, and I flew home on a red-eye when I was told that my mom may only have a couple hours left with no food and water and in an unconscious state. She just kept breathing. She kept breathing on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday and Sunday, all the while shaking her right hand to show us the fight to be with us. We then realized that her wedding anniversary to my dad was 2 days away. And we believed that she was hanging in there and fighting for us so that we could celebrate one last time together. My mom stopped breathing on Monday of this week. And after she passed away, Marika realized and shared with us my mom's truth, because the truth is all we have. That she passed away on Monday. Just in time to be with my dad on their 64th wedding anniversary. That's love. And that's my mom. Mom, you let me fly, and you let me fill my life with wonder, and you taught all of us that sweetness and goodness are needed to live a full life. Thanks for being the greatest mom ever to a little boy who dreamed big, to a teenager that rocked very hard, and to a father, husband, and find-a-wayer that tries to fill his world with your goodness. I love you forever and beyond.
Beautiful, beautiful tribute you paid, Larry, to your mom. As so many of you know, Bev grew up in Cleveland Heights with her parents and grandma, living together. They were of steadfast support to her. But it was not long before she met her future husband, Larry. I share this excerpt from the eulogy I prepared for Larry. Larry met Beverly at the young age of 8 years old. Their parents and families were very active at Beth Am Temple long before the synagogue closed its doors. When the mothers met, they concluded that they would one day become machatanim, or in-laws. All of this made no sense to Bev, who remained incredulous to the idea that she would end up with Larry, up until it seemed the very moment they got engaged. That all said, one thing Bev knew for sure is that Larry was her best friend. She was his support, his rock, and his life, and he eventually became hers. Even when Larry had his paper route as a youngster, Bev organized the business end of things by being his first financial consultant. When Larry enlisted in the Korean War, he asked Bev to marry her, but the problem was that she had many, many other suitors. Moreover, she only found out through her aunt that he had proposed. At that point, she figured it was a done deal and decided to go along with it. While she may have not initially pegged Larry to be the man she would spend the rest of her life with, she knew he was a good man. He was compassionate, kind, a gentleman, and she observed that he was remarkably good to other people. And importantly, Larry worshipped the ground on which she walked. She knew she had it good and agreed to marry him. As was common to newly married soldiers, Larry sent money home in anticipation of the life they would lead after the war. Their life together started at the Tudor Arms Hotel when Larry arrived home, but they soon moved in with Bev's parents, whom Larry regarded as a second set of parents. And when it came time to bury Bev's mom, he said, "I'm burying my mother today." It was all that happened before they bought a house of their own on Marnell Avenue in Mayfield Heights that began their life as an independent family, creating an independent home. The move to Mayfield Heights was a natural action to move for Bev. She was always moving. Our most endearing and enduring memories revolve around verbs for her. Bev was a talker, starting a conversation with just about anyone, family, friend, or stranger. Mitch joked that at family gatherings he would count the seconds underneath the table on his fingers for how long Bev would maintain any kind of silence. She could spend hours on the phone with anyone, never lacking for words. Bev just couldn't sit still. She was always looking to go out to dinner. Lobster was one of her favorites, or she would just skip to dessert for a hot fudge sundae. And she wanted to join this or that party or dance the jitterbug with Larry, always moving. Sometimes the two were the last couple on the dance floor at weddings. She loved the Cleveland Indians, TV's Law and Order. I think she watched every episode 15 times. And anything crooned by Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra, or Barbra Streisand. And Bev stridently believed in superstitions, black cats, ladders, anything. And she held her family captive to these endearing proclivities. She played mahjong and canasta with friends and with the grandkids. And while Mitch, Marla, and the grandkids all claimed Larry or Poppy as the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Bev, known as Ami or Nene, regarded her grandkids and also now her great-grandson Lev, the one you're hearing, as the real goats. They were her goats, her greatest of all times. And when Carrie, Katie, Evan, Alan, and Adam entered the family orbit, Bev took them in as if they were her own. When Mitch and Carrie finally got engaged and married in one fell swoop, Bev was ecstatic, as evidenced by her reaction caught on video. Still endures today. She got up from the table and gave a great big hug to Carrie, just bypassing Larry altogether, bypassing Mitch altogether. Larry was sitting there just watching and taking it all in. As Carrie and Katie put it, Bev was the president of our fan club. Bev and Larry attended just about every extracurricular activity that Brad, Rob, Todd, Marika, Roxana, and Griffin engaged in. They were so enthusiastic and eager to be the kids' cheerleaders that they became grandparenting role models for all their peers. They bypassed lots of social events with friends to be there for their kids. They wouldn't miss it for the world. The kids remember hearing her shout and hoot and holler for them when they played their games, danced recitals, participated in activities of all kinds. She even rooted for the kids' teammates, rooted for the kids' peers, always remembering their names, calling out to them too as if she were their grandmother. Indeed, Bev was kind and loving. Rabbi Lisa Idison, my former colleague at Fairmount Temple, proud to call herself family, said that Bev was totally non-judgmental, accepted people for who they were. And she not only lived her life effusively with a flourish, she dressed that way too. She always looked fabulous. Clothes always matching, right down to her socks, and jewelry appropriately accessorized. She liked dressing up, always cute and stylish, as the grandkids put it, and taking the kids shopping so they could look fabulous too. It helped that her family's business, Amber's Young Colony, exposed her early on to fashion. And of course, in honor of her love for purple, which also graced her home, many family members today are wearing a bit of that color. Even in her last days, Bev cloaked herself with beauty and with grace. Her loving family was convinced that she was holding on, as Mitch said, holding on to join Larry for their 64th anniversary. Oh yes, a piece of her was taken away when Larry died, and it was clear when we gathered for Larry's stone setting that you can see there was a piece of her that was lost. She knew one day she would be reunited again. She breathed her last breaths just one day prior, and all agreed that she needed that extra day. Right, Mitch? To pick out her outfit, to get her nails done in preparation for that 64th anniversary celebration with her beloved. Making that fist, holding on strong. As you put it, Mitch, there was no Larry without Bev, no Bev without Larry. Those last days were spent at the Western Reserve Hospice, and she was joined by generations of family members, all of you, sitting with her, an enduring blessing to her life. 7 days of constant visits, never leaving her alone. The staff at Western Reserve couldn't believe it. This woman was surrounded by an unending love, a boundless love. 7 days. 7 days of giving so much love back to the woman who gave it to you every single day. Eventually, and when she was ready, Bev slipped quietly into the next world. And Ami, or Nene, and Papi were reunited once again, celebrating those more than 6 decades of partnership and love, respect, and honor. Those memories, that love still endures, even though they are not here in body today. And you honor them today, and we know you will honor them for the foreseeable future because of the legacy they leave. So we say, Zichrona Livracha. May Bev's memory forever be a blessing. And let us together say, Amen. We pause for a moment as we consider all the amazing, incredible gifts that Bev brought to each one of our lives. If you are able, I invite you now to please rise at your seats for the memorial prayer, El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamsei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, B'malot Kedoshim Utarim, Gezor Rakia Mazirim et Nishmat, Bela Bat Bero V'Chava, Shalcha Leolama, Began Eden Tehei Menuchata, Bala Rachamim, Hastireha, Beseter Knafecha Leolamim, Utror Bitror Achayim et Nishmata, Adonai Unachalata, V'tanuach b'shalom al mishkava, v'nomar Amen. El Malei Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Beverly Kroll, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen. As we turn to the conclusion of our service, family will move to Zion Memorial Cemetery for the graveside burial. And then we'll be receiving friends, the residents of Carrie and Mitch Kroll, 6635 Cummings Court in Solon, 6635 Cummings Court in Solon. They will be sitting today following services and interment until 8 p.m. and then once again tomorrow, Friday, from 12 to 6. Friends who wish may contribute to the hospice of the Western Reserve.